What's up, guys? It's me, Pez Flips, and today I wanted to give my updated thoughts on this fella right here, the Frank P. Now, people have said that the P stands for plastic. I want to say PVC, but maybe that's not what this is made of. So, whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been thinking about this guy, specifically that I think I had just an unfortunate first impression with him. Little side tangent. Got the reversed side of the blanket today, so you guys get to see a whole different Pez Flips. But anyways, yeah, I just think that I got off on a bad foot with this guy. Now, there are some criticisms that I would like to get into, but that being said, this thing, again, in a specific context, being $30 and a plastic balisong, completely change my feelings on it. And that is that I think that this is probably the best plastic balisong on the market at the moment. I don't think that you can really get anything that offers what it has performance-wise. I think that the balance of this thing is actually really, really good. Now, I will say that maybe if you just added the tiniest bit of weight on the end of these handles, just a tiny bit more, it might flip just a slight bit better. But all things considered, like, this thing fans very, very well. You see how flat that is on both sides. It's not uneven. Maybe it fans a little bit better on the safe handle, but all things considered, like, this thing fans relatively smoothly, relatively easy. The ladders, I heard people asking what I thought about the ladders. I think that because it's plastic, it's slippery, so ladders get away from you. But the important thing to consider is that because it's so light, because it's plastic, in some ways it's actually easier to do ladders. I can go on infinite ladders for way longer with something like this and not get fatigue. Now, there's something to be said about the weight of this being a problem, and that's that it can make other balisongs not feel awesome to flip. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, this is going to make, like, your other balisongs feel like poo-poo. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is so light that you might get used to it after flipping it for a while in a session, and then you pick up your other balisongs and they feel uncomfortably heavy. And I don't know about you guys, I don't love the feeling of flipping a heavy balisong and it feels like I'm, like, trudging through something. And to an extent, when you're trying to, like, get back into a new, like, metal balisong, after flipping this, it will feel sluggish. It will feel heavy, and that's not, like, super awesome. I think I have learned that I am somebody who prefers lighter knives, and part of that is, I think, just wrist health. I think that having a lighter knife is actually just safer for preventing stuff like tendonitis, because when you think about it, this hobby is basically just repeat motions, especially if you're trying to drill out a new trick. It's just repeat motions over and over, and sometimes those motions can be somewhat biomechanically optimal, not like a movement that your hand is exactly created to do, which can cause some problems down the line. So, So having a heavier balisong can kind of exacerbate some of those problems of repetition more than a light balisong can. I would say that first and foremost, the utility of this guy is just public flipping 101. This is the most non-offensive looking knife you can have. Not offensive in the sense, not like, you know, a different knife is going to curse out your mother or something, but that it doesn't really look like a knife, you know. No one's going to be, like, weirded out by the fact that you have this here for it being a knife. You know, there might be other reservations that people will have in public, but you won't have to be worried about getting, like, kicked out or something for flipping this. So, like, I'm not sure about school policies. I'm not going to speak about flipping at school, but I would say if I were to consider doing anything like that when I was that age, this would probably be the thing that I would want to at least think about bringing. I think that's something that you'd want to have a conversation with first, with the people who are in your building and such, before you bring something like this in, because better to have some preparedness than just spring it on people. So anyways, yeah, that's its strength. That's its number one strength, is public flipping. I think also its price. Its price is very, very competitive, and for being plastic, you know, you can have a cheaper knife, and the quality is actually pretty nice. LDY commented on my last video, and the binding was mostly just it not being lubed correctly. I took it apart, took the washers out. There was like a little bit of like, I think hair or something in there, like fuzz, and I took that out, and it cleaned up the problem a lot. And then putting oil in, you can hear what it sounds like. I mean, it sounds good. Something to consider is every time you close, it's actually very loud, and that's because there's like literally no space whatsoever for the blade to fit into the handles at all. So I think you kind of need this thickness for weight perhaps, but at the same time, I wish there was a slight larger widening of the channels so that you wouldn't encounter the slap so often, because yeah, the slap's going to be somewhat inevitable on plastic, but you know, we could benefit from some slight adjustments. So that's the first model. Another huge thing in terms of a con that I would like to point out is there is no bite handle indicator. I think that this is probably the biggest misstep of having a trainer, is that you need some sort of feedback that you're flipping wrong. And I don't know about you guys, but because these handles look like there's no blade to look at, that when you kind of like analyze it in the moment, you can like see that, oh, this is the bite handle, and then I should do a wrist pass or something like that. Like sometimes I lose track of what the knife is, like what orientation it's in, and being able to have some sort of feedback that can let you kind of know, because sometimes you'll be going for something like on the crack, and it has that really big little bit right there, and you can almost feel that before it's going to bite you, and you can get out of the way beforehand. So not having something like that that tells you like, oh, this is the bite handle, is actually like, especially what this is going to be flipped by newer flippers, is a problem, because it can develop some bad habits in flipping. So be aware of that, and maybe a version 2 or something has a bit clearer of an idea of like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to be flipping on that side. I'm trying to think of like potential mods that you could just do with this one right now, and I'd considered like hatching this or something, like hitting it with a knife or something, just to like chip this away so that there was a rougher feeling. And maybe I'll do that. It turns out I do get to keep this guy. I asked LDY, and they said, yeah, it's yours to keep. So that's really cool. Again, it's just, I don't know, I'm just some guy, and being able to have something, and you might say, oh, okay, whatever, it's just a plastic ballast ring. I think just the sentiment alone that I'm being considered for something like this is pretty neat. So yeah, I'm just very fortunate and grateful to, I don't know, it feels like, not recognized is the word, but I don't know, something to that effect. So yeah, I would say if you are considering buying this guy, just go for it, because honestly, it's so cheap that performance-wise, yeah, it's gonna hold up. And even for a collection, it's just unique for what it is, being plastic. You know, there's not a ton of plastic ballast songs in reality. We had that like renaissance for a while, and then I don't know, things kind of, for the most part, slowed down a lot with that. So I think that for how cheap it is, if you already have a collection, this is only $30. Like that's nothing. And then for people who are just getting into flipping, you know, if you're very intent, you're very mindful when you're flipping, I think this is perfect. Like, you can really do that, but I would prefer there being a version that gives you a bit more clarity on if you're flipping the right way or the wrong way. So yeah, I would say get it if you like the look and you want to flip wherever you want, even if you're a beginner. And yeah, definitely, from my understanding, better than the Squiddy at this point. The Squiddy having a very notoriously awkward balance, and I think that this thing has such a better balance, even without flipping it. I can see the Squiddy, and I flipped a alu Squiddy. What are they called? Squiddy A, whatever. I've flipped one of those, and they're fine. Like, the balance is fine, but I've heard that the plastic is just not great. You see people ripping on it, but it's because that's probably something that they first started flipping with, so they learned like all their tricks on it. But there's probably a more optimal design, such as this one, that will I guess, coach you better for heavier weight, because this is more of the balance-wise feels closer to an authentic balisong, like a higher performing balisong balance profile. So in that regard, having something like this gives you kind of a better like step to, I would say, I don't want to say real balisongs, but balisongs that are made out of metal. So yeah, it's been Pez Flips. I'm looking at getting a prime lens. So prime lens is just like, they're cheap, but they actually are pretty sharp in image quality. A prime lens wide angle for my DSLR. So I have a DSLR that I use for photography. If you've followed me on Instagram, it's been a while since I've posted pictures, but I was cracking it open and I was like, you know what, I guess I could just record on this thing. It's really beefy, so it's gonna be kind of annoying. I've not actually tried recording with it yet, so we'll see, but I've thought about having another lens so that I could record on that and have some higher quality video, and maybe I can be a little less claustrophobic, because I have to put this phone like so close to my mouth, and I know, you guys hear me breathing and shit, so don't always love that. You get to listen to what a 20-something-year-old guy sounds like a goddamn 50-year-old with heart problems or something. But anyways, I will talk to you guys in the next video, and I hope you have an excellent day. Oh, one last thing. LDY is having a competition, a flippers competition. They have a lot more details on their Instagram. I'm just remembering this on the fly, so I'm not going to do it perfect justice, but if you do like a flipping clip with like some sort of editing in it, and you use like the hashtag LDY competition, it doesn't have to be an LDY balisong. It could be anything. It could be a clone even. They've said that as long as it's like an edited clip or something like that, and you use their hashtag, and I think that you tag them in it or something on Instagram or YouTube, I think like that's how you get entered into something. I think 100 knives are getting given away, or 50. Again, I would please refer to the LDY's official Instagram page if you wanted more details. Maybe I'll put a link in the comments section about it, because at the end of the day, they sent me something, they scratched my back, and I would like to scratch their back too. So yeah, I will post it in the comments, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll do it too. So bye.